Not seeing the results that you wanted to see in your practice? In this video, we're going to talk about transitioning your practice from TCM into traditional Japanese medicine and all the barriers that come along with it. I want to tackle these barriers one by one for you so you can truly transition your practice from TCM into traditional Japanese medicine. Hi everyone, my name is Maya Suzuki with ShinKyu University, and I started hearing about the barriers that people all around the world are facing when transitioning their practice when I started helping people learn traditional Japanese medicine when I still lived in Japan and was working there as an acupuncturist. I was helping a few of the greats of our industry, Jeffrey Dan and Stephen Brown, to host and run the In Touch Japan workshops. Now, at these workshops, I met acupuncturists from around the world that would spend weeks out of their year, thousands of dollars, and a ton of energy to come to Japan and learn with Japanese acupuncture masters. The unfortunate thing about that, though, is they would spend all of their time there and really only be learning how to hold a needle correctly or how to do a basic technique, rather than really how to implement that really, really awesome and foundational technique in a really profound way in their practice. I set up ShinKyu University to truly take those barriers out for people so they could learn those foundations in their clinics, at their home, so that way when they came to Japan with me, because I now run the In Touch Japan seminar, they can truly learn technique and application, advanced application of technique from masters in Japan. Now, if this sounds like something you are super interested in doing, I would love to chat with you about your practice and how we can help you transition your practice from TCM into traditional Japanese medicine at ShinKyu University. There's a link for that chat in the description box below. Let's hop on a call and talk about the barriers you're facing and how we can help you get over them. Now, the very first thing that we need to talk about is why you should, as a practitioner, completely transition your practice from TCM into traditional Japanese acupuncture at moxibustion and kampo if you also do herbs. Now, there's a few reasons why I recommend doing this, but the number one reason is that not that TCM isn't an effective medicine, but oftentimes the theoretical vantage point and what TCM taught you as efficient and good treatment is not true in traditional Japanese medicine. So a lot of times these two approaches to the body can really butt heads with one another. And so if you can truly transition your practice and just get out of doing TCM in the clinic, it's going to make things for you a lot more clear and efficient, minimalistic, and you can really be a little bit lazier actually in your treatment. I like to tell people to be a sloth, be lazy, because you're not going to have to consistently be combining two things that don't mesh 100% with each other. So let's talk about how these things don't mesh, because those things are going to create the barriers for you in your practice. Now, in TCM, the points are in fixed locations. They never move, they're always in the same place. And so just like you were probably taught in school, you measure the points. Maybe you're measuring it with your fingers or you're measuring it with a string, but you measure and it's always, always, always in the same place. Now, in comparison to that, in traditional Japanese medicine, the points are moving all the time on the body for the patient on the table in front of you. And so yes, stomach 36 will be in the area of stomach 36, but it's going to be unique for that patient at that moment on the table. Also, oftentimes the meridians as they are stated in TCM are not the same placement for the meridians in traditional Japanese medicine. The stomach channel on the leg from the knee down in particular is a great way to prove my point on this, in that in TCM, the stomach channel is very close to the bone, whereas in traditional Japanese medicine it is a lot wider. It is actually covering the entire front of the calf and of the front of the leg. And then the gallbladder takes the side of the leg and the bladder takes the back. So even the meridians are in different locations in traditional Japanese medicine than in TCM. So why this becomes a barrier for you is because oftentimes when traditional Japanese medicine texts and teachers are talking about you taking a specific point, stomach 36, spleen 6, liver 3, kidney 10, all of these points that are really commonly used, they're actually talking about a completely different location because the meridian is in a different place, and or they're finding it in a completely different way. And by taking the point in a different way, in a different location, it's going to give you different results. And oftentimes what I found for, well, all the time, what I found for my students is it actually elevates their results. So this is a really, really important thing to keep in mind. If you're unsure about how to figure out where the point should be, where the meridians should be, learning from someone like myself or my teachers are a really good way. I also highly recommend coming to Japan with me sometime because you'll be privy to see that information. This, however, is something that I really recommend you do at home in your home clinic. This is not something that you have to be in person to understand. This is a foundational thing that can be learned online. It can be learned, very quickly, and then you can start implementing it. You don't need to have hundreds of hours of in-person training in order to understand this point. So the next barrier that I really see for practitioners wanting to transition their practice is technique. Now, needling technique and moxa technique is something that is very specific in traditional Japanese medicine, and it's often quite specific according to the style that you practice. So for example, a tradition that most of the traditions actually in traditional Japanese medicine stem from Sugiyama Waichi's style. But for example, if there's a style that doesn't, like Ishizakaru, then they have very specific techniques that they're going to have you do. Saying that, there is no style that I have ever seen that doesn't use one of three techniques to create their base style. They're either going to use a guide tube tap-in, they're going to use a lifting and thrusting insertion, or they're going to use something called nenshin, which is a soft drill technique. And those three techniques are really foundational to all insertions. That's true of TCM, that's true of classical Chinese acupuncture, and that's true of traditional Japanese medicine. So if you can learn these three techniques, you're going to probably be able to do whatever insertion or whatever manipulation of the technique after that according to that style. Now, saying that, learning these techniques and also learning a rock solid half grain moxa practice is not something that you can do without a mentor. Mentorship is extremely important here because a mentor is going to point out what you are doing wrong and what you should be doing to do it right. And learning this stuff on your own is, well, impossible, because our medicine, traditional Japanese medicine in particular, lacks the English, first of all, textbooks to show you how to do it. And also, technique is not something that you learn from a book, right? And this comes to my third barrier, in that people who are looking to truly transition their practice from TCM to traditional Japanese medicine are doing it from a book. And I'm sure you watching this have probably spent most of your learning for TCM and traditional Japanese medicine from learning from a book rather than learning in person. And that is simply because that's where our industry is. Most of our industry is lecture format. You sit and you write notes, someone tells you how to do it, and you're done. That is not really true of how you should be learning your traditional Japanese medicine. Traditional Japanese medicine should be learned by practicing, and practicing with a mentor. Now, how I do it in ShinKyu University is I have you practice with me online so I can visually see your practice, and then we come together in person to truly elevate that technique, right? And so it's very important to have both elements, I think, for this day and age. And considering that, I don't know where you live, but I have students who are in Italy, who are in France, who are in India, Chile, Brazil, all over the globe, and they need to be able to have a teacher they can learn from consistently and then come learn with me in person when they can. So in order to accomplish really overcoming these barriers, I recommend you do a few things. One, I already mentioned, is that you need to get a mentor. It is extremely important to have a mentor when learning traditional Japanese medicine. Again, myself is someone in the world who is doing that, but there are also other people around the world who are starting to create mentorships for traditional Japanese medicine. So I just highly recommend that you find someone that you really like and that you really vibe with, and please start getting their advice. It's extremely important in order to further your career. Now, the next piece of this, of course, is that you need to start small and start practicing today. Now, I have tons of videos on this channel on how to start your half-grain moxa practice, how to do specific techniques. Please check out one of those videos. Start practicing right now. Start practicing on an inanimate object, then on yourself, then friends and family, and of course, finally, the public. But you need to start small. 5 minutes or 10 minutes a day of practice for your moxa or for your needling will truly make a difference. So please start doing that now. The last and final thing that I would like to see you do in your clinic to truly overcome these barriers is to practice even more. Now, I know I just told you to practice already, but really the more practice that you can get and the more mentorship and feedback on that practice that you can get, the better you are going to get, and you're going to see more results with your clients as well. So keep practicing. It is really important. Now, before I go any further, I would love to ask if you're currently transitioning your practice from TCM into traditional Japanese medicine. Let me know in the comments below. Now, just as a little addition to this video, I would like to put up some things that I recommend that you have in your clinic in order to really transition your practice from TCM into traditional Japanese medicine. Now, the number one thing that I recommend is, of course, having high quality tools. It is really important to have tools that you can trust, so that way you know if you have a painful needle or hot moxa, you know that it's your technique and not just poor quality tools. Unfortunately, some of the brands that are made in China, they don't have really great tips. I don't recommend them. Honestly, I recommend sarin for most people, or getting handmade needles. Both the Maida and Aoki needles are also very well made. I'm a little bit of a snob about my tools. They often come from Japan because that's where I was trained. But to be quite honest, the craftsmanship that goes into those needles makes them a better tool. They are going to be more expensive for you, only slightly, but you again can trust that it's not the tool that's making the mistake, that it's you, and then you can really try to figure out what that mistake was. It's going to help transition your practice and get you over barriers and get you more confident a lot quicker. Moxa, of course, is something that you want to make sure you get the highest grade possible if you are doing a half-grain moxa practice, because a lower grade of half-grain moxa, it is going to make your moxa quite hot. I personally really love Kobayashi Ryoho because they ship internationally and they have really good quality moxa. So if you want, please do head over to their shop. I am not sponsored by them whatsoever, but I do use the Miyabi brand in my clinic. So I really do suggest, if you're getting into half-grain moxa, that you're going to want to go over there, get Miyabi or something similar to it. I also am very picky even about the incense that I use, about the guide tubes that I use, about the needle trays that I use. Everything is really tailor-made to make sure that I don't have to worry about it. It's easy to clean, easy to take care of, will last forever. And on top of that, it's going to really take all the guesswork out of knowing, again, did I make the mistake or did the tool? So that's even down again to my needle trays. They're made of stainless steel rather than plastic, so that way I can reuse them and wipe them down with alcohol or put them in an autoclave, so that way everything stays clean and it lasts forever. Thank you again so much for watching. If you're interested in learning more about traditional Japanese medicine, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to be notified of future videos coming out all about traditional Japanese acupuncture, moxibustion, palpation, and so much more. And if you're interested in truly growing your practice, you're going to want to watch this video right over here.